Rummel and Notre Dame running back Logan Diggs committed to LSU today. Obviously, he's in the transfer portal. We talked about this a lot. I think you all knew where this was going when we talked about him so much. You're in a situation where arguably you need more running backs. You don't necessarily know the status of Armani Goodwin. You don't know the status of John Emery. Now, table the John Emery thing. So we've mentioned John Emery a couple times when we hear about the recruitment of Logan Diggs. Tonight, we're going deep into what does it mean for him. But here is what you're getting in Logan Diggs. Regardless of what my other co-host on my other show, Joe DeLeon, says, Logan Diggs had 165 carries last season, 822 yards, 5 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns on 10 receptions, 211 receiving yards, which is 21 yards per catch. That is massive. 2 touchdowns, so 6 total touchdowns. He had 1,033 total yards from scrimmage a season ago. Also, what's interesting, what's very, 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 very interesting with Logan Diggs, very few and far between that you find that Logan Diggs fumbles the football, something that I really like. Here's the biggest reason why this is a big deal for LSU, not even talking about depth. Frank Wilson has had multiple stints at LSU, this being his second. What do we always know about Frank Wilson? He likes going running back by committee. He always has. Last year was literally no different. Now, you can make the argument, if you're going by committee, you don't really have a go-to back. Well, Frank had guys like Jeremy Hill, and if there is a go-to back, I think that he has one that he just recruited in Caleb Jackson. You will give him the bulk of the carries. But last year, no running back at LSU eclipsed over 100 attempts running the football. Josh Williams, who only played in 11 games last year, so obviously had a couple of games missed because of injury, would have well gone over that if he would have played. But he had 97 carries for 532 yards. Noah Cain and John Emery alike both had 76 carries last season. Cain had 409 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, and John Emery had 375. Cain had 10 touchdowns. Emery had 6. Then you had Armani Goodwin, who got a bulk of his carries, only played in half the games that LSU had last season, as in 7, 45 carries, 267 yards, 6 yards per carry. What's interesting about him, people forget that he had 5 rushing touchdowns last season and only half the season. So what does it mean? To me, I think it's a massive addition for you being able to get Logan Diggs into this room. You're adding a weapon for an already potent offense. One thing that a lot of people like, it's flashy, I get it. You want to see balls thrown down the field. You're going to see that. Okay? As we start turning this page a little bit, Zach, you can use this for your preseason hype video. As LSU turns the page into year 2 under Brian Kelly, they're going to advance things offensively. They're going to get the ball down the field more. They're going to get the ball to their running backs out in space in the passing game more. It's a big philosophy and a big piece that if you remember when Mike Denbrock took over as the offensive coordinator, he literally laid out the plan that he had at Cincinnati. He is copy and pasting it at LSU. Logan Diggs adds to that massive piece of getting that running back out of the backfield that can catch it and run and get you very good yards. 21.1 yards per catch a season ago. But Frank Wilson is going to Frank Wilson. The running back by committee is what LSU was known for when you had 4 and 5 backs in a year, that at any given moment, one could break off, that you had fresh running backs, and why LSU was so effective and why everybody thought, Man, LSU, even though Les Miles was one of the craziest coaches of all time, he had fresh backs throughout the game. It's why in 2011, when Michael Ford busted that long run on the outside, why did he look so much more fresh than everybody around him? Well, you know why, because it was a running back by committee. Anytime that you add a 1,000-yard back, a 1,000-yard from scrimmage back, I should add, there's nothing that hurts you here. You got better for this year today. Now, Logan Diggs has 2 years to play. This isn't just a one-year deal. It's not just a one-year deal. When Josh Williams leaves next season, when Noah Cain leaves next season, Logan Diggs is and can be that veteran presence, that veteran back in your locker room. What does he also know? He also knows that Brian Kelly has already seen the value in him, and he wants to come home. You know what's interesting is one thing that we don't mention about Brian Kelly either. Have you seen the recruiting rankings lately? Like, when's the last time you've gone to one of those services? Right? Like, when's the last time that you've gone to one of the services and seen what LSU's doing in recruiting? Now, I know I'm going to bring this back to Logan Diggs. Just stay with me. So if you look in the 2024 class, especially when you look inside the state of Louisiana, LSU closing in on Dominic McKinley, LSU closing in on who they believe could be the best corner in this class in Wardell Mack, closing in on Tylen Singleton, closing in on Joel Rogers from West Feliciana, Kobe Young, and others. Brian Kelly's locking the state down, and not only that, he's been going out and getting the kids from Louisiana to come back home, and look at the success that it's getting you. I am not going to sit here and say that I believe that Logan Diggs is RB1 as of today. I think that goes Josh Williams, Noah Cain. Let's see how Logan Diggs can work himself into that rotation. But it is just such a massive piece when you have a guy that last year on a really tough Notre Dame team, meaning they were more one-dimensional than any Power 5 team that had success last year. Guys, Drew Pine for Notre Dame was not good. Notre Dame was one-dimensional. And we saw what Logan Diggs and the ability that he has when you pop on the film against Clemson, when you pop on the film against South Carolina, when you pop on the film against other teams last year, one guy that always flashed was Logan Diggs. Now, Logan went viral, if you remember, as a freshman when he leapfrogged somebody down the sidelines, and Brian Kelly is not known for starting young running backs because of fumbling issues, because of protection issues. And one thing that is for sure is not only can he run the football at a high clip, can he run it between the tackles, you can trust Logan Diggs on all three downs. You can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he is a punishing pass blocker when you turn on the film. There are multiple times when Logan Diggs hit the portal, like I went and watched him play Clemson, and him picking up a blitz of a middle backer and flatlining him. There are just so many things that he does well that to me, I'm not saying it's a home run addition, but I'm saying it's a massive addition for you. Guys, you're only getting better here. Think about it like this. Your worst running back, maybe taking the freshman out for just a minute, is what, maybe John Emery? Maybe Armani Goodwin? You're pretty well stacked at that position. Even though during spring you didn't have hardly any bodies there. You return production at wide receiver. You return production with a guy like Malik Neighbors returning, who had 1,017 receiving yards on 72 catches. You return the number 2 receiving tight end and the number 2 receiving yardage guy on your team outside of Kayshon Boutte and Mason Taylor. Brian Thomas returns. Kyron Lacey returns. Chris Hilton returns. You got Sheldon Sampson and Kyle Parker and Jaylen Brown that are coming in. You have an offensive line that really should not miss a beat. They've only gotten better with guys like Lunsford and Lance Hurd coming in. I know a lot of this is going to predicate on how good Jayden Daniels can be. And I am willing to fall on the sword and be wrong on this one. I'm okay with being wrong. I think Jayden Daniels takes a massive leap forward. I think with having the offensive pieces around him and the depth that you have around him makes him that much better. We see quarterbacks all the time. Doesn't matter if they're how many starts they've had beforehand. Guys that go from year 4 to year 5, the drastic measures and the drastic what's the word I'm looking for here? The drastic leap that they can take from years 4 and 5, not just talking about starters, is unreal. He's a 5th-year guy. Logan Diggs is what you look for in a great additional piece. Some people nationally think it's a sneaky good pickup. It's more than a sneaky good pickup. It's a damn good pickup. It's a damn good pickup for you. Notre Dame can say all they want. Oh, he wasn't going to play. He wasn't going to start. You know what I say to that? Horse shite. Horse shite. You have a 1,000-yard back and you're not gonna play him in a significant role. That's how you tell me and show me that Marcus Freeman is on the top of the list of Rudy Poos. Top of the list of Rudy Poos. So as we talk about all offseason, find me a hole offensively. Now, you can say Jayden Daniels. Some of you will. I'm going to allow you to have your opinion. But I just want to let you I just want to remind you of this. Jayden Daniels ran for 885 yards. Williams had 532. Kane had 409. Emery had 375. Goodwin had 267. You're adding a guy that had the same amount of yards as Jayden Daniels, and how much did that impact you last year? How much did that impact you? Now, will Logan Diggs' stats probably go down a little bit? Maybe, because he's going into a room that's got dudes in it. But how much better does that make him down the stretch that he doesn't have to take that many carries to be that productive? Now, the flip side, and another thing that I want to talk about here, is John Emery. I don't know really where to start with John. Okay? You know how good he can be. I know how good he can be. We've talked about this when Brian Kelly announced that he was away from the team. This is not sourced. I'm giving an opinion. Strictly an opinion. When I say I'm just giving an opinion, I could be wrong. Let me also preface this by saying I do think that John Emery would be a good, if John Emery's in your room, it's not bad to have him there. But, man, if you thought your running back room was in a good position with John Emery and Armani Goodwin returning, why would you go get Logan Diggs? John's got a lot of things he's got to do. And Brian Kelly has talked about an avenue for a way for him to come back to this team. But it doesn't feel right. And I don't know if John Emery gets a lot of carries or touches in the beginning. Now, we could go out to practice day 1 and John Emery's there. Would not shock me in the slightest. Legitimately would not shock me in the slightest if when Brian Kelly gives the media availability that we walk our happy rear ends out there and John Emery's taking reps. Wouldn't surprise me. But, man, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like he's going to be a part of this team. And I will tell you now, even if he is, Diggs is going to get his fair share of carries. He's going to get his fair share of carries. So is Williams. So is Kane. Oh, and by the way, so is Jane Daniels. A lot of dogs in that room that want to eat. And I don't know if John Emery has a bowl at the table that he can eat from either. I don't know if John Emery, I do question. Now, I was one of the ones that was out here advocating, that sometimes even calling out the NCAA for John Emery's mistake. But I do sit here and ask this simple question. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. How bad do you want it? Do you really want to play football? Because there's only one way, there's only one path back. Only one path back. He knows it. Brian Kelly knows it. The staff knows it. Hell, the SEC knows it. The fans know it. Everybody knows what the path back is for John Emery. Everybody. Does he want it bad enough to where he can come back and want to play?